And so one of the things that I'm very attentive to when we go out and respond to disasters is self-care for clergy. I have a deep bias that the clergy are the last ones in the system who take care of themselves. All of the energy of someone who's preaching and leading and encouraging a staff, if there is one, or empowering volunteers, all that energy that they have as a person is going out to feed others. They're called to take care of the congregation. And so it's all going out, it's going out, it's going out. And at some point you realize it's all gone and you got nothing left to give. And when you get to that point, hopefully there's an awareness of, hey, you know, maybe it's time now to take care of me. Maybe I need to be mindful about my own well-being. I've given and given and given, and now in that emptiness, I hear the invitation to just to honor who God has made me to be. I'm convinced that our souls were not created with the capacity to handle all the trauma that comes to us during a human-caused disaster. And so we need help, and we need intentionality to be able to do the right things or to do practices that kind of refill us with joy, with hope, with peace, with love, and with faith. And for me, that was a very practical thing. I realized that as kind of a type A personality who's very driven to succeed and has almost no patience with anything, what I needed to do was to find a team of people that could help me be attentive to my well-being. That started with number one, finding a family physician that I trusted and who would listen to me and not just see me on a 5-minute appointment, but actually spend time with me. I needed to find a good psychologist that I could sit with every month and talk through the darkness and the yuck that was sort of bubbling up inside of me, but I couldn't really share with the congregation because I did not want to re-traumatize them. My thoughts, my images, my hurts were profound, and I needed to make sure there was a safe place, an appropriate place that was dedicated to my well-being and that I wasn't sort of using the congregation or the preaching opportunity or leading a congregation as a way to work through my own stuff. I also, in that time, realized that I needed to get back into spiritual direction. And thankfully, I found a wonderful lay spiritual director who was very open to the darkness and the brokenness and the sense of abandonment and alienation that I felt in the aftermath of the disaster. And she walked with me for years, getting me through that sense of darkness, back to some sense of God being at work in my life, and not just in my life, but through my life, so that what I had imagined coming into this congregation doing, I was eventually kind of able to come back to that sense of there's purpose, there's an agenda, there's a dream, there's a vision again. But again, it took time. And for me, it was 5 years from the time that the incident occurred to a time where I would say I got my call back and my sense of being the leader of this congregation. It all came back in about that amount of time. The other things that I realized I needed to do was to play more. As a pastor in a church, there's often a lot of demands on my time, the scheduling, being available to people, doing all those sorts of things. What I realize is that it needs to be okay for me to go play. And so I needed to find a hobby or hobbies and figure out, what does it mean to be alive apart from my vocation and apart from my call and apart from that which I get paid for? But what does it mean for me to be okay and to be alive? And so those are some of the elements of self-care that I try to encourage in others.